Welcome to First Things First. I'm Brooke Blett and my pronouns are she and her.
I'm Maddie Mills, my pronouns are he and him, and before we get started, we'd like to acknowledge the custodians of the land on which we record.
And today we are both in studio and we're in Wiradjuri country, part of the Eora Nation. Maddie, how does it feel like to be in
It's cold. It's always bloody cold.
So cold. Okay, so I feel a bit lighter today. The last
Gastro?
week... TMI. Don't tell them my secrets.
Metamucil, Dale. Metamucil.
Wait, actually, get that fibre intake.
No, okay, you're feeling lighter.
I'm feeling lighter. Not for any particular reason other than I have cried a fuckload in the last couple of days. I've just finished it's called SFA, which is a voice assessment.
Yes.
It's about finding your voice, which is amazing, and it has been really useful and helpful throughout, acting.
But they voted no.
Triggered. No, well, fuck them. I'm here.
She's found her voice.
I found my voice and it's here.
Yeah.
But it made me think, and I'm not saying this in any disrespect to my teacher or my class or what we've achieved, because it was the most amazing experience doing this this course. It was liberating. Like, imagine, singing in front of your class, or if you've never had the confidence to sing out loud or sing in front of people, getting the confidence or the ability to do that. And
Well,
I think,
saw you did that on your Instagram.
Yeah, so
What a great reaction.
Well, thanks. But I've been starting to, play with the idea of singing to an audience, because if I can't even do that, I won't be able to perform,
Yes.
So I've just got to do the thing.
Yeah.
There's a whole thing about doing the thing. But it actually reminded me, when I'm pulling myself out of it, how sucked in you get to environments and how much you're in it, that it can seem a bit culty. It's not, my class is not a cult, but it had me thinking about different cults, because I feel like, we call it industries per se. Or institutions.
Yes.
But how many there are out there that we don't know about, that you're just so consumed by your environment?
Think that happens in institutions a lot. Like, whether it's universities, when you're, studying, you're so laser focused on this and committed to being a part of this. You drink the Kool-Aid and you're a part of this environment.
Drink the Kool-Aid, exactly.
And so I remember when I first got to Perth and I went to acting school, when I got to the institution, it was like nothing outside of that bubble mattered. You were creative the whole time, and when you weren't creative, you were, surrounded by your acting friends or your classmates, and everyone spoke about the craft. So it does become a bit overwhelming and a little bit culty, because that's the topic, that's the interest, and when you're speaking outside of that, I think that it almost feels foreign when you're in the environment. This happened with me and Baz Luhrmann. So
okay.
I'm not saying that it was a cult, but when I was...
But working for him is an environment in itself.
When we were working...
The film industry.
That's right. When we were working on Elvis, we purely spoke about the film. And at times when we were eating and we were having a break in production, he would say, let's gossip, which meant that let's talk about something other than the film. And so...
But why is it gossip when it's just normal chit-chat?
It wasn't gossip at all. It was political, but that was his terminology,
Okay.
It was political stuff. It was talking about what was happening in the current political climate. It was, the pop news that was happening in the media. But then, I understand why that's needed in those environments. Otherwise, people get distracted.
Well, it's project-based, right? So most of, these institutions, or I guess industries, are led by, getting a project done. So I guess the Bachelorette, you're in an environment, it's not a cult.
That's giving cold.
Well, to be fair, that's all you're consumed by.
12 weeks of living in the same house, around the same people, doing the same thing.
And no wonder you get so, your rose-coloured glasses on, because...
Is that a pun?
Literally. No, but quite literally and metaphorically as well. You are so consumed by it. So I can understand how cults work in a sense, because... I've never been to a level of being a part of one, but I can imagine how easy it would be to get sucked into one.
Wouldn't it be fun to go undercover into a
right?
cult? Would you do that?
I reckon I would.
Yeah, I would.
And I reckon I'm pretty, I'm easily persuaded in a way that I can pull myself out of it, I'm sure. But
I definitely think that you have the tendencies of being taken into a cult.
Why are you saying this? Why you say this?
I just think that you're easily persuaded.
I'm so gullible, Harry. I'm like, da-da-da-da-da.
You'll be thinking, you would try and find the best in the environment and the opportunity, and you'll be like, making you would think that everyone has good intentions.
Is that my red flag? Like, is my red flag?
Do you think people have good intentions?
Yeah, but I do believe. I've been brought up to believe that everyone has good intentions. Like,
it's
obviously,
not true.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what I'm slowly learning. But let my heart be my heart, okay?
That's why you're going to be poured into a cult, because you're just like, let me be. I'm like, jump the fence, sis. No, they got good intentions.
My heart is big. It's raw. It's sensitive.
And you're the perfect candidate for them to prey on.
I know. I'm vulnerable. I get it.
But if it was a cult and you were, sucked into one, what do you think it would be?
Well, I feel like I'm already semi-part of a acting cult because all I want to do is hang out with my acting friends.
Yes.
And people in the industry and like-minded people. But also at the same time, maybe it's not really a cult. It's just like feeling inspired and creative. And all I want to do is hang out with creative people. It's how you word things.
Well, that's what I heard when I watched the doco on Netflix from the TikTok dancers. The 7M doco, right?
Is this why you've been dancing on TikToks lately?
Girl, I'm a part of it. No, look, I
Doesn't surprise me either.
Yeah, look,
You say I'm gullible.
Everyone has a price. $20 is $20.
Put the cha-ching sound in that.
Absolutely. Give me the money eyes emoji. I'm there.
Sell my soul to the devil.
These, TikTok Christian dancers are a part of this 7M management company that have basically got them on board, created this blind faith within them that their money and their things that they're earning and the content they're creating is all going to the greater good, yet they're being sucked dry by the management and the guy who runs the church, to the point where the content creators have lost contact with their family. Their family don't even have access to them to communicate with them. And one of them is a twin sister who was brought up with her sister, danced on TikTok, and they had such an incredible relationship. This girl goes off to LA, becomes a part of this cult and loses all emotional connection and is not in touch with her family. And the family go there and try and track her down and, get to the bottom of it. But that's a fucked up cult because they're using religion as the base.
Yeah. That's kind of how we know about cults, right? More so on the religious base of, conversion and Christianity.
Well, this is people weaponizing religion and Christianity.
Yeah, I watched it, and the thing I find interesting, not the funny thing, is that the main girl that it's about who's separated from her twin sister, she's just still doing her normal TikTok dancing life. And imagine like this whole documentary is about you and I don't know, like there hasn't really been a response from her. Like she came out and said her family were wrong and like none of it, what they're saying is true. Like, she did probably like disclose that, but it's like, what do you want to believe? A documentary or like an Instagram story?
Well, the thing is, she has absolutely been, brainwashed by the guy who leads, I think his name's Robert, Shekinah. And
that's the church. The Shekinah church.
Is the church, yes.
Yeah. And the guy's name is Robert Shin or something? Yeah.
But then they did some digging and they found that there was, other people before this girl who had experienced the exact same thing.
And they left?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
So they fully like unraveled the whole thing.
Whistleblower, vibes.
Yeah.
But how can you say that you go there, you have connection with your family, and then you lose everyone except for the institution that you're a part of?
You're isolating yourself so...
Do you think that they realise that? Because it doesn't seem like they have any idea that has happened.
Yeah, but like surely you would get to a point, like I would think like, say if I went and joined a cult now, like you guys would be like, okay, that's a bit odd that she's got like if you've just split off full communication with people that you would see like every day or hang out with every day and they were part
she's going to learn from this. Leave her in there.
See ya. But you guys would be concerned, right? And you'd be probably trying to make me aware, of course. And I think surely you would have some like feeling or moral compass or something that's in you that's like, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
Or maybe, again, you're completely brainwashed and you're thinking you've got a higher value of what you want and what you want to achieve. That's what they're giving you.
But
so like if it's like someone was like, hey, like if you work for me for 10 years minimum and I'm going to give you this amount of money every year, would you do it?
Would I do it?
To the cost of, because maybe it's
not.
been blackmailing.
No, I wouldn't.
It's so complex.
No.
That's the whole point of this. Is like cults are very complex.
I think the main thing about cults is that there's a psychological power that you don't have control of. So you're brainwashed. You're put into a position where you feel like whatever they say is right. Whatever they say is the right way. Even to the point where he said in the documentary, I remember him saying something about the fact that you need to cut off your family members. Like you don't need to have contact with them. If you want to be so spiritually connected and strengthened with God, you need to cut everyone else off except me. And this was his message from God. It's like,
but Robert isn't God.
Well, he thinks he is, doesn't he?
Yeah. See, that's where I have the issue.
That's the issue.
It's like when people like, this is a horrible
God
thing.
complex.
Yes, and when people blow up something and they're like, oh, well, God made me do it. No, he fucking didn't. No one makes you do anything.
Totally.
You did that.
Yeah.
I hate that whole God complex. Like I'm not really religious based, but when someone says like, "Oh no, God made me do it."
Yeah.
Like my dad is super religious, but he comes from a different place where he's like, God makes me do all these good things.
Well, the fundamental teachings of Christianity, if we're going to use that as an example, is love, right?
Exactly.
And not to be judgmental. Yet all I saw in this documentary was Robert being judgmental to everyone outside of that cult. So it's like
that's a power thing.
I want to ask, like, if they have, they realize they have that moment, I'm fucking a part of this institution. How do you get out? What do you do?
Run away.
Run away, but then the psychological damage.
True.
The impact
you're going to be in therapy.
Has.
Yep.
I mean, it's a good lawsuit. You could get some money.
You could
sue the institution.
I don't know what I would do in that situation. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
like I've also been a part of where in my life when I was about 18, I looked to God or I looked to church to find some community and find some stability, which, I could have been easily, I guess,
what did you
taken
find
down
in that environment?
I didn't have much support.
Yeah.
I was very isolated myself and I didn't choose that. That was just that something just happened. So I was looking for support and I was looking for stability and I was looking for encouragement. And I got that to a certain degree in a level, but then I went and found it myself in other avenues because I looked to other avenues and I didn't rely heavily on Christianity, churches and God giving me that.
Yeah.
It was a start and an exploration, but it wasn't my conclusion and my solution.
Yeah. Totally. I think that what people seek within the church is, probably something that we get from our community anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
I think that like black fellas, I must say that, I believe in God. I believe that there is a connection between me and a higher power. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what form that is, but for me, I definitely feel a connection to a divine being. I don't know if it's my ancestors. I don't know if it's the people who've come before me, if it's God, if it's, I don't know, is it fucking one of the Teletubbies? Who knows?
La
Seriously.
Dipsy.
But I feel it. And so it is a bit of a, faith based feeling.
But and you have control over how you pick and choose how that relationship.
But I'm not blind.
Exactly.
I don't have blind trust or blind faith. Why does the church always come down to money as well? But
that's what I'm concerned about.
There's a lot of financial gain there.
Yes. And if we look at also like historically the damage that institutions per se have had on people and that type of environment, it is a bit like not similar, but there is sort of partly like a similarity to, I guess, mission and stolen generations.
Well, speaking of that, let's have a look at this little case study. So the family cult is one of Australia's most popular and well-known cults.
That was here in Melbourne.
It was. The notorious Doomsday Cult operated just outside Melbourne between 1963 and 1989. It was led by Anne Hamilton Byrne, who claimed she was the female reincarnation of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they took
who was
children
sent to collect kids and raise them on her own property and keep them away from the apocalypse. The members were brainwashed. The kids, their hair was dyed blonde.
And they're trying to make them the same.
They're
It's
trying to
giving
make them-
assimilation.
It's giving assimilation and the stolen gen.
Right. And these are white people. This is in Melbourne. This is, what year did you say? It was
in 1963 to 1989.
That's insane. So up to the 1980s.
It's interesting that it was in Melbourne. This sounds like a
Right.
family from Mullumbimby. You know, one of those hippie families?
It's what it's giving.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's giving.
it feels like that. But that's a very, like, trying to make...
28 kids were taken and raised identically.
So when people get outraged about that,
Mm.
why are they not outraged about the stolen generation?
Well, exactly. I mean,
Because that happened in 1980, and I'm sure there was probably protests or people angry about that situation where kids were taken, not Aboriginal kids, but non-Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander kids. But
I wonder how many of these kids could have been Aboriginal as well. Who
exactly
knows?
true, 100%.
That is a
is so
frightening
concerning.
case study there.
But this doesn't seem too different to what's happening in institutions like the Department of Child Protection, which is still taking kids
Yeah.
to this day.
Yeah.
And my sister is living proof of that. Like,
Yeah.
as soon as she gave birth to her child, he was taken,
Yeah.
Adam.
Yeah.
You know, like we talked about kinship on other episodes of how important it is to keep kids with family. Like, they've proven it, they've made it so difficult to remain in contact with him.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
It's so frustrating. But anyways, like going back to, I guess, cults and the similarities of, you know, between institutions and cults as well. Like, it's...
At least you're getting something out of an institution. You know, a diploma.
No,
you know, when
yeah,
you
you're
know
working
when you
towards
when you're
something.
working towards
What are you
a goal.
getting? Psychological distress
Well, it comes
from a cult.
bit culty, but it's because it needs a focus, I suppose. You know, cults. There's outside of an institution or like a university course, there's no real personal gain. You know, there's
I
actual.
wonder what, like, niche cults are out there
was
other
gonna
than the
say,
ones we've
what?
spoken about.
I wonder if there are any blackfella cults.
Well, you know what?
Like,
I was
would
watching
you
a
say?
doco about the Black Theatre. That would
in
be kind of
Redfern?
similar. Not a cult, but, like, you know.
What about the sovereign black movement? Like, you know,
Hmm.
like not a cult, but like they have a
Given
very.
those vibes, you know, maybe.
I'll
Maybe
join.
I'll start a cult.
What would your cult be?
The Crying Club.
Oh, don't.
Let your feelings out. Nah. I
You
don't
don't
know.
laugh, you'll cry.
Exactly.
You don't cry, you'll fart.
If you don't let it out,
Oh, well, I
it
think.
will let out anyways. On that note,
On that note,
yeah. This has been a very interesting conversation. I think there's so many complexities to it. I think there would be some really niche cults. Like, I feel like it's like, I don't know, there'd be a cult like, we only drink almond milk cult.
yeah,
Or like the matcha cult.
yes.
I'd be a part of that.
Kourtney Kardashian is the head of that one. She is. You know, she's
Lemmy.
Yeah, all the health and wellness girls.
Yeah, I'd easily be a part of a health and wellness cult for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Like, sign me up.
Yeah, you just have to slow your voice down and talk like
I would
this.
talk like
Yeah.
this and take deep breaths in on 3. 1, 2, 3. All right. Well, that's all we have time today.
I'm so happy I joined your cult.
Thanks so much for listening to First Things First. As always, if we've made you laugh today, or we've made you cry, happy,
Or fart.
or fart, whatever you want, leave us a rating and a little review,
And if you want to tell us anything, join our cult.
or reach out via our socials, which is also a cult. My handle is at Brooke.Blurton. Maddie's handle is at It's Maddie Mills. And we'll see you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.
Get something to